Your future spouse is sending a message to you, open it immediately. Before you scroll away, there is something strange about the fact that you are here right now. Out of millions of videos, millions of distractions, and countless choices you could have made in this exact moment, you stopped here. And what if that is not random? What if the message you are about to hear feels familiar because a part of your heart has been waiting for it for years? Close your eyes for just a second and imagine this. Somewhere in this world, there is a person who has never met you, yet their life is already being shaped by your existence. They don't know your favorite song. They don't know your habits. They don't know your fears. They don't know your name. But somehow, their path keeps moving closer to yours. Every decision, every delay, every heartbreak, every unexpected turn, every goodbye, every lesson, every disappointment, every victory. All of it has been guiding both of you toward a moment that has not happened yet. And if your future spouse could send you a message today, this is what it might sound like. My dear future partner, I know you cannot see me yet. I know you do not know where I am. I know there are days when you wonder if I even exist. But I need you to know something. I am real. And every day, I am moving closer to you. Think about that for a moment. Right now, as you listen to this, somewhere in the world someone is laughing. Someone is working. Someone is driving home. Someone is staring out a window thinking about their future. Someone is praying for the kind of love they have not found yet. Someone is wondering why every relationship seems to end before it truly begins. Someone is asking questions they cannot answer. And that person could be the one who eventually becomes your husband. Your wife. Your forever person. Imagine receiving another message. They say, "Please stop believing that your story is over. I know there were nights when you cried. I know there were moments when people left. I know there were promises broken. I know there were times when you blamed yourself. But if I could stand beside you right now, I would tell you this. Every person who left was making room for me. Every wrong door was preventing you from entering the wrong future. Every delay had a purpose." That changes everything, doesn't it? Because most people view delays as punishment. But what if some delays are protection? What if the relationship that failed wasn't destroying your future? What if it was saving it? Think carefully. If every wish you ever had came true instantly, would you really be happier? Or would you have ended up trapped inside a life that looked perfect but wasn't meant for you? Your future spouse continues speaking. I wish I could tell you how many times our paths almost crossed. How many moments we were closer than you realize. How many tiny decisions changed everything. Maybe we visited the same city. Maybe we walked the same street. Maybe we entered the same building. Maybe we were only minutes apart. Maybe we breathed the same air without knowing it. Maybe destiny smiled and said, "Not yet. Not yet." Those two words have frustrated countless people. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. But sometimes not yet is better than never. And perhaps that is why you are hearing this today. Because your story is not finished. In fact, The chapter you have been waiting for may not be as far away as you think. Now imagine your future spouse becoming serious. Their voice grows quieter, more emotional. And they tell you something unexpected. There is something you need to stop doing. What is it? Stop settling for less than you deserve. That hits hard. Because many people settle. They settle for attention instead of commitment. They settle for confusion instead of clarity. They settle for temporary excitement instead of lasting peace. They settle because they are afraid of being alone. But your future spouse says, please don't choose loneliness disguised as love. Please don't choose someone simply because they arrived first. Wait for something real. Wait for something honest. Wait for something that feels safe. Safety. Not boredom. Not perfection. Safety. The kind of connection where you don't have to pretend. The kind where silence feels comfortable. The kind where trust becomes stronger than fear. The kind where home becomes a person. As you continue listening, another message arrives. And this one may surprise you. Your future spouse says, I am not perfect. Interesting. Most fantasies involve perfection. But real love does not. Real love involves flaws. Real love involves growth. Real love involves forgiveness. Your future spouse continues. I have insecurities. I have fears. I have mistakes in my past. I have scars nobody sees. I have moments I regret. But I am learning. I am growing. I am becoming the person I need to be before I meet you. And perhaps that is exactly what you need to hear. Because maybe you are not waiting for love. Maybe love is waiting for both of you to become ready. That is a completely different perspective. Maybe preparation is happening behind the scenes. Maybe things are moving even when you cannot see movement. Maybe your future is developing in silence. Now imagine one final message appearing. This time it feels different. More personal. More direct. More urgent. Your future spouse says, if you could see the future for 5 minutes, you would stop worrying so much. Think about that. How much stress comes from not knowing? How much fear comes from uncertainty? How many sleepless nights come from imagining worst-case scenarios? And what if the future version of you is already smiling? What if the future version of you already knows everything worked out? What if the future version of you wishes you could stop worrying and simply trust the process? Your future spouse says, please take care of yourself. Please protect your heart. Please continue growing. Please keep believing. Please don't let disappointment make you bitter. Because one day, when we finally meet, I want to meet the real you. Not the version of you that gave up. That is powerful. Because life has a way of testing people before rewarding them. It asks difficult questions. Will you continue believing when nothing seems to happen? Will you continue growing when nobody notices? Will you continue becoming better even when progress feels invisible? The answer to those questions shapes your future. And perhaps that is why this message feels so important. Because it is not really about your future spouse. It is about you. The person you are becoming. The strength you are building. The wisdom you are gaining. The lessons you are learning. The future you are creating one day at a time. Now imagine years from now. You are sitting beside the person you eventually marry. You are talking, laughing, sharing memories. And suddenly one of you says, "Can you believe everything we went through before we met?" Then both of you smile. Because all the confusion finally makes sense. All the delays finally make sense. All the unexpected turns finally make sense. Every piece of the puzzle falls into place. And in that moment you realize something beautiful. Nothing was wasted. Not the tears. Not the waiting. Not the lessons. Not the growth. Nothing. Because every step brought you closer to where you were always meant to be. So if this feels like a message arriving from your future, hold on to one thought. The story is still being written. The page has not ended. The chapter has not closed. The journey is not over. And somewhere ahead, beyond the uncertainty, beyond the waiting, beyond the questions you cannot answer today, a future exists that you cannot fully see yet. A future filled with conversations that haven't happened. Memories that haven't been created. Laughter that hasn't been shared. Moments that haven't arrived. And perhaps, just perhaps, someone is moving toward you right now without even knowing it. The distance between your stories is shrinking. The timing is unfolding. The pieces are aligning. And when the moment finally arrives, you will understand why it had to happen exactly the way it did. Until then, keep growing. Keep believing. Keep becoming the person you are meant to be. Because the most beautiful chapters are often the ones that take the longest to arrive. And your story may be closer to beginning than you think. The message is not over. In fact, what you are about to hear may be the most surprising part of all. Because if your future spouse could continue speaking to you right now, they would probably say something that nobody has ever told you before. They would say, "There is a reason you feel different lately." Think about that. Have you noticed subtle changes inside yourself? Moments when you suddenly crave peace instead of drama. Moments when certain people no longer feel right around you. Moments when old habits begin losing their power over you. Moments when your priorities start changing. Moments when you feel like you are outgrowing a version of yourself. That feeling is important. Because major life chapters rarely begin without preparation. Before a new season arrives, something inside you begins shifting. And according to this message, that shift has already started. Your future spouse says, "I know you think nothing is happening. But I need you to understand that some of the biggest changes happen invisibly. A seed underground looks inactive. Yet it is growing. A sunrise appears suddenly. Yet it was approaching the entire night. A destiny can look delayed. Yet it may be moving closer every single day. Right now, you might only see what is missing. But what if the universe is arranging what is coming? What if pieces are being moved into place? What if conversations are happening that will eventually affect your life? What if opportunities are forming behind doors you cannot see? What if the future is much closer than it appears? Your future spouse continues. There is something I need you to stop worrying about. What is it? The timeline. That one sentence changes everything. Because most people are not worried about love. They are worried about when love will arrive. They compare their lives to others. They compare their age, their circumstances, their progress, their relationships, their achievements. And comparison slowly steals their peace. But your future spouse says, please stop measuring your life against someone else's clock. A flower blooms when it is ready, not when another flower blooms. A star shines when darkness arrives, not when another star shines. And your story will unfold according to its own timing, not anyone else's. Now imagine receiving another message. This one feels even more personal. Your future spouse says, I have seen some of the battles you are fighting. That sounds impossible. But listen carefully. Because what follows might reveal something important. I know there are things you don't tell people. I know there are worries you hide behind smiles. I know there are moments when you appear strong while secretly feeling exhausted. I know there are dreams you stopped talking about because too many people doubted them. And I need you to know this. Do not give up on those dreams. Interesting. The message is no longer only about relationships. It is about your future. Your purpose. Your potential. Because the strongest partnerships are built between two people who continue growing. Two people who continue becoming. Two people who continue believing. Your future spouse says, the person I eventually meet is not supposed to abandon their dreams before they meet me. Read that again in your mind. The person you become before love arrives matters. Your future matters. Your growth matters. Your journey matters. And perhaps the greatest mistake people make is putting their entire life on pause while waiting for someone else. Don't pause your life. Build it. Create it. Strengthen it. Expand it. Because the best relationships are not rescue missions. They are partnerships. Now the message becomes mysterious. Your future spouse says, there is something strange happening around you. What could that mean? Certain people are quietly removing themselves from your path. At first that sounds painful. But then comes the revelation. Not every ending is a loss. Sometimes people leave because their role is complete. Sometimes friendships fade because growth requires change. Sometimes doors close because better ones are opening. Sometimes separation creates space for alignment. Imagine if every person from your past remained in your future. Would your future truly improve? Probably not. Some people are lessons. Some people are blessings. Some people are both. And learning the difference changes everything. Now your future spouse shares something shocking. If we met too early, we might not have stayed together. That is unexpected. Most people assume sooner is better. But is it? Think about who you were 5 years ago. Think about your mindset. Your priorities. Your habits. Your understanding of yourself. You have changed. You have evolved. And chances are, your future spouse has changed too. The people you are becoming today may be very different from the people you once were. Which means timing matters more than most people realize. Your future spouse says, "We are not only waiting to meet. We are becoming ready." Ready. That word carries power. Ready emotionally. Ready mentally. Ready spiritually. Ready for commitment. Ready for responsibility. Ready for something real. Now imagine another message arrives. And this one feels almost unbelievable. Your future spouse says, "There will be a moment when everything suddenly makes sense." Can you picture it? A single conversation. A single encounter. A single introduction. A single unexpected event. And suddenly the future changes. It happens all the time. People call it coincidence. But sometimes coincidence feels too small a word. Sometimes a single moment changes an entire lifetime. One message. One meeting. One decision. One yes. One chance. And everything becomes different. Perhaps your future already contains one of those moments. Perhaps it is approaching even now. Now your future spouse becomes emotional again. Their voice softens. And they say, "There is something I hope you never forget." What is it? You are more valuable than you realize. The world often measures people by achievements. Money. Status. Popularity. Appearance. But your value is deeper than any of those things. Your kindness matters. Your character matters. Your heart matters. Your resilience matters. Your willingness to keep going matters. And one day, someone will appreciate qualities that others overlooked. One day, someone will see beauty where others only saw ordinary. One day, someone will recognize the treasure hidden beneath the surface. And that person may be the one sending this message from your future. Now listen carefully. Because the next part may be the most important revelation yet. Your future spouse says, "When we finally meet, I won't be looking for perfection." That should bring relief. Because perfection is impossible. Nobody has it. Nobody achieves it. Nobody maintains it. Instead, your future spouse says, "I will be looking for authenticity." Authenticity. The courage to be yourself. The courage to stop pretending. The courage to stop wearing masks. The courage to be real. Real connections are built on truth. Not performance. Not pretending. Not perfection. Truth. Now imagine the final message of this chapter arriving. Your future spouse says, "If you are hearing this today, I want you to remember something." And then comes the statement that changes everything. Our story is already moving toward us. Not moving toward you. Not moving toward me. Moving toward us. A future partnership. A future friendship. A future family. A future life. A future chapter waiting to be written. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this. You do not need to force it. You do not need to chase every possibility. You do not need to panic. You do not need to fear every delay. You only need to continue becoming the person you are meant to be. Because while you are preparing for your future may already be preparing for you. Somewhere beyond today's worries. Beyond today's questions. Beyond today's uncertainty. A chapter exists that has not yet opened. A conversation exists that has not yet happened. A smile exists that has not yet been shared. A love exists that has not yet been experienced. And every passing day brings that future closer. Closer than yesterday. Closer than last month. Closer than last year. The distance is shrinking. The timing is unfolding. The story is advancing. And if your future spouse could send one last message before this chapter ends, perhaps it would simply be this. Keep going. Keep believing. Keep growing. Keep trusting. Because the day we finally meet, you will understand why none of the waiting was wasted. And when that day arrives, the message you are hearing right now will feel less like a mystery. And more like a memory. But wait. There is one final part of this message. And according to everything that has been revealed so far, this may be the part your future spouse wanted you to hear the most. Because until now, the message has been about timing. Growth. Preparation. Destiny. But this next revelation is about recognition. How will you know when the right person finally enters your life? How will you know they are different from everyone else? How will you know this is not another temporary chapter? Your future spouse says. Because when we finally meet, something inside you will feel calm. Notice what they did not say. They did not say fireworks. They did not say chaos. They did not say endless uncertainty. They did not say emotional confusion. They said calm. That may be one of the biggest surprises of all. Because many people have been taught that love must feel overwhelming. That it must be dramatic. That it must be exhausting. That it must constantly keep them guessing. But real love often feels different. Real love feels like peace. Real love feels like clarity. Real love feels like coming home after a very long journey. Your future spouse continues. The right connection will not constantly make you question your worth. Think about that. How much time have people wasted trying to convince someone to care? Trying to earn attention. Trying to prove their value. Trying to chase affection. Trying to hold together something that was already falling apart. But your future spouse says, when the right chapter begins, you will not have to beg for basic respect. That truth alone can change someone's life. Because what belongs in your future should not require you to abandon your dignity. Now imagine another message arriving. This one feels urgent. Your future spouse says, there are things happening right now that neither of us understands yet. Interesting. Because most people assume they need all the answers. But perhaps life was never designed that way. Maybe some answers only become visible after the journey. Maybe some roads only make sense in hindsight. Maybe some delays only reveal their purpose years later. Your future spouse says, if we could see everything today, there would be no reason for faith. Faith. Not certainty. Faith. believing before seeing, trusting before understanding, continuing forward before knowing the outcome. And perhaps that is exactly where you are right now. Standing between questions and answers. Between waiting and arrival. Between preparation and fulfillment. Now listen carefully. Because what comes next sounds almost like a secret. Your future spouse says, there is a reason certain relationships never worked. You may have asked that question before. Why did they leave? Why did it fail? Why did it hurt? Why did it happen? And perhaps the answer is simpler than you realize. Because not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people enter your life to teach. Some arrive to challenge. Some arrive to awaken. Some arrive to redirect. And once their purpose is complete, they leave. Not because your story is broken, but because their chapter is finished. Imagine carrying every person from your past into your future. The weight would be unbearable. The lessons would become clutter. The memories would become distractions. Sometimes moving forward requires releasing what was never meant to stay. Now your future spouse says something shocking. In the future, you will thank certain people for leaving. At first that sounds impossible. Thank them? After all the pain? After all the disappointment? After all the confusion? Yes. Because hindsight changes everything. One day you may realize that the door which closed was actually protecting you. The opportunity you lost was redirecting you. The rejection you feared was guiding you somewhere better. And suddenly what once looked like bad luck begins looking like guidance. Your future spouse continues. There are blessings hiding inside disappointments. That statement deserves reflection. Because sometimes life wraps gifts in packages nobody wants to open. Sometimes growth arrives disguised as struggle. Sometimes wisdom arrives disguised as failure. Sometimes destiny arrives disguised as delay. Now imagine your future spouse becoming emotional once again. Their voice softens. And they say, I hope you never stop believing in good things. The world can make people cynical. Disappointment can make people defensive. Pain can make people cautious. But cynicism builds walls. And walls can keep blessings out just as effectively as they keep pain away. Your future spouse says, protect your heart, but do not close it. That balance matters. Protect it. But do not imprison it. Guard it. But do not bury it. Value it. But do not harden it. Because the future version of you deserves the chance to experience something beautiful. Now another message arrives. And this one feels incredibly personal. Your future spouse says, there are moments when I am unknowingly moving closer to you. Imagine that. While you are listening to this, somewhere, someone is making decisions. Choosing paths. Learning lessons. Growing through experiences. Recovering from disappointments. Preparing for opportunities. And every one of those moments is shaping the person they will eventually become. The same way your experiences are shaping you. Two stories. Two journeys. Two paths. Moving independently. yet somehow moving toward the same destination. That thought alone is remarkable. Now your future spouse shares something that sounds almost unbelievable. There will be signs. Not necessarily dramatic signs. Not giant flashing signals. Not impossible miracles. But subtle signs. Unexpected conversations. Meaningful coincidences. Perfect timing. Doors opening naturally. Moments that feel strangely familiar. Pieces fitting together in ways you cannot explain. The kind of moments that make you pause and think, how did this happen? And perhaps the answer is that some things take years to arrange. Now the message reaches its deepest point. Your future spouse says, "There is one thing I need you to remember no matter what happens next." What could be so important? The answer comes immediately. Do not lose yourself while searching for me. Powerful. Very powerful. Because some people spend so much time searching for love that they forget to live. They postpone happiness. They postpone growth. They postpone dreams. They postpone adventures. They postpone becoming who they were meant to be. But your future spouse says, live fully. Grow fully. Dream fully. Become fully yourself. Because the greatest gift you can bring into a future relationship is not perfection. It is authenticity. Now imagine the years ahead. Imagine challenges overcome. Imagine goals achieved. Imagine lessons learned. Imagine confidence gained. Imagine becoming stronger than you are today. Then imagine meeting the person who has been moving toward you all along. Not because you chased desperately. Not because you forced destiny. But because both of you continued becoming who you were meant to become. And when that moment arrives, something extraordinary happens. The waiting ends. The wondering ends. The uncertainty ends. And a completely new story begins. A story filled with conversations that last until midnight. Inside jokes nobody else understands. Shared dreams. Shared victories. Shared memories. Shared growth. Shared purpose. The kind of moments that seem ordinary while they happen but become priceless later. Your future spouse says, those moments already exist in the future. Think about that. Somewhere ahead of you are memories you have not made yet. Photographs you have not taken yet. Conversations you have not had yet. Laughter you have not shared yet. Adventures you have not experienced yet. Entire chapters waiting patiently for their turn to arrive. And perhaps that is why you were meant to hear this message. Not to predict the future. Not to guarantee specific outcomes. But to remind you that your story is still unfolding. That hope still matters. That growth still matters. That patience still matters. That becoming your best self still matters. Because every day you continue forward, you move one step closer to the life waiting for you. One step closer to answers. One step closer to understanding. One step closer to fulfillment. One step closer to the person whose path is slowly aligning with yours. And if your future spouse could leave you with one final sentence. One sentence above all others. Perhaps it would be this. Do not be afraid of the chapters you cannot see yet. Some of the most beautiful parts of our story have not happened yet. So keep going. Keep believing. Keep building your future. Keep becoming stronger. Keep choosing hope. Keep choosing growth. Keep choosing faith over fear. Because somewhere beyond today's horizon, beyond today's questions, beyond today's waiting, a future chapter is quietly approaching. And when it finally arrives, you will understand that every lesson, every delay, every challenge, and every unexpected turn was helping guide you toward exactly where you needed to be. And that is the end of the message your future spouse wanted you to hear today.